How's it going, guys? Shizukatz here on the Trusted Collectibles channel, and today we're going to be doing a product opening for you guys out of the new 7 Deadly Sins set, an English original set that was recently released in Weiss Schwarz. So as far as the products that we're going to be opening today, we're going to be taking a look at one booster box and one supply set. So also, let's just take a quick sec to look at this 7 Deadly Sins case topper playmat. You get 4 of these lovely playmats in every case. They are the non-stitch variety, but still looking very nice. All right, so let's take a quick sec to talk about each of the products. So we have one booster box. This is going to have 20 booster packs in it, and the supply set comes with a deck box, a pack of 60 sleeves, which we can take a look at here on the side. Look like this. 5 booster packs, and then also at the bottom we have this nice deck divider that you can cut out and put into your deck box. So let's go ahead and take a look at the supply set first. Alright, so let's crack this open. Within a single supply set you do get one 7 Deadly Sins deck box. Let's go ahead and take a look at each of the sides. Here we have Meliodas on the front, we have King on the side, we have Diane on the back, and we have Bon on the other side, and then from the bottom we do have this lovely close-up of Hawk. So in terms of the size, we do have one of the previous supply sets here to give you guys an idea of how much you can fit inside of one of these deck boxes. They are quite large. Here we have a 50 card double-sleeved deck, and this fits in here very easily. And in addition, you do have pretty ample space in the back for you to put extra cards, extra sleeves and over sleeves, and it does fit in there quite nicely and closes with Velcro. So very nice deck box that you do get with your supply set. Next we do have the sleeves that come with the supply set. You get 60 count, so you get 50 for your deck, 10 extra in case any of them get damaged or whatnot. And of course we have the booster packs and the divider on the bottom. Go ahead and take a look at that real quick. So the actual just packaging out of the bottom does have this that you can cut out and use as a divider in your deck box. It's very cool. But of course, we do have the booster packs. So who knows what we could pull out of these packs? Let's hope we get something nice. Oh, right. So out of the first booster pack, there are 8 cards in every booster pack, and we did immediately pull a double R, King. So this is a pretty cool green finisher. In fact, we even pulled the Climax that goes with him in the exact same pack. So as far as the lower rarity cards, you do get 4 commons and 2 uncommons, and we'll go ahead and take a look at some of these cards later. But for now, let's get into the later packs to see if we can pull even more good stuff out of this supply set. Alright, so 1 double R down. Let's see if we can get some more. So we have first our 4 commons, our 2 uncommons, and we do have the Diane stock swap. This is a rare that's definitely a card that you're going to want to include in your deck. Having a stock swap ability is very nice. It's pretty, honestly, like meta-defining card. This card existing can just affect your opponent's gameplay behavior pretty well. All right, moving on to our third pack, we have our 4 commons, 2 uncommons, and we have the Elizabeth level 2. This is a great card to use if you want to run a deck based around Meliodas, especially with the Meliodas level 3. And let's see if we can pull that level 3. So we have our 4 commons, 2 uncommons, and Galther. He has a Climax combo with a Standby if you want to play Standby in this set. It is unfortunately the only Standby Climax available, so you won't be able to go 8 Standby. But if you want to go with a Standby strategy, consider using this Galther. And on to our last pack for the supply set. Ooh, we did hit another double R, the Merlin Brainstorm. This is a really, really good supply set. So we pulled 2 double Rs. Merlin, definitely a card that you're going to want to look out for in your packs. This is one of the super high value cards that you're going to want to include in pretty much every deck in 7 Deadly Sins. So with the supply set out of the way, let's go ahead and move on to the booster box itself. So now onto the booster box. we're going to be getting 20 booster packs in every box. And as far as the rarity spread goes, you're going to be getting 5 double Rs and 1 or 2 foils in every box. So hopefully we can pull at least 2 foils, if not an SP. And let's get cracking. So first, of course, in every box you do get a box topper promo, and there are 5 possible ones. In this box, we got the SD Meliodas. It's a pretty neat promo. He can pump himself soul, and then if his attack gets canceled, you can pay 1 and draw a card. So you can leverage that high soul count, try to get some advantage back. All right, on to the first pack. All right. Okay, in our first pack, we did get another copy of the 2-1 Elizabeth that we saw earlier. Pack number 2, 4 commons, 2 uncommons, and we have our first blue rare, I believe. This is a level 1 combo. It's actually a double combo with another rare that we might pull later on, so we can take a look at that. All right, 4 commons, 2 uncommons. And we have our first double R of the box. We have the level 1 Elaine combo. This is, in my opinion, the go-to level 1 combo for the set. And we can talk about the reasons why in a bit when we go over some of the cards in depth. But for now, this is our first double R of the box. On to our next pack. We do have a King Climax Swapper. Okay. Pack number... This was what? This is pack number 5. And we hit another copy of the Deanne Stock Swap. This isn't a card that I really think you need 2 copies of. I think 1 copy is good enough just to have access to the card and threaten your opponent using the stock swap ability. So it's more of a tech choice that you include in your deck, and you search it out if you need it. Moving on to the next one, we have another copy of the Gauther level 1 combo with the standby. So far, only 1 double R and no foils yet, so hopefully we get some good stuff coming up. We got the Gauther Drop Salvager. It's a pretty good utility card if you want access to the waiting room. All right. I think I see a double R coming up, and it is. We have the Bond level 0. So this is a pretty nice utility card that allows you to mill through your deck quickly as well as filter your hand. And more importantly, this card is red, and red is pretty important in this set, in my opinion, especially if you want to run the level 1 Elaine card. So an all-around good card, and one that you should look out to include in your decks for sure. This card can basically go in any build of 7 Deadly Sins that you want. And we did hit our first foil, or possibly our only foil. This is the Triple R Last Minute Save. So if I can just grab a sleeve real quick, and we can get a sleeve on this. So let's go ahead and take a look. This is the Last Minute Save Triple R. This is the climax that goes with a Deanne level 0. And surely we must have pulled it by now. Let's go ahead and see if we can find it. I believe it's a common right here. It's a climax combo card with this Deanne. And I also believe that this is an alt art, which I can show you if we pull the climax later on. But for now, we will just put this right here and come back to it in a bit. Moving on to the next pack. So we're about halfway through the good stuff in the pack. Let's see if we can pull some really nice cards. So our commons. For our rare, we do have the Arthur. This card has a pair of abilities that's actually pretty synergistic with itself. It allows you to top check 2 on attack and choose your trigger. Or instead of choosing your trigger, you can use his second effect and mill the top card, and if it's a level 0, you can summon it to the board if you have 1 or less other characters. So synergy with himself, pretty nice level 0 profile. Next we have the Elaine level 0. This is often referred to as the Arisu effect or Cowgirl, depending on how long you've been playing the game and which cards you're familiar with. But this is a double utility card that can give you good hand filtering. Definitely a really strong utility choice to consider in 7 Deadly Sins, and it's in the rare slot, so pretty easy card to get a hold of. Okay. For next rare, we have the Gil Thunder level 2 combo. This is actually a really, really nice early play combo. You can play this at level 1 and get a whole bunch of advantage off his combo. And also in that pack, we did also pull the non-foil version of the last minute save, so you can get a good look at the difference between the two arts. Alright. On to the next one. We're a little over halfway through the box now, so we should be coming up on the rest of the good stuff. What do we have here? We have the 2/2 Merlin. This is one of the standby targets at level 2 that you can consider running if you want to run standby. The Gauther combo does let you stand whatever you bring out off the standby, so you can get to using your 2/2 standby targets the turn you play them instead of having to wait a turn. Okay. We have a level 0 Hendrickson. This is a pretty neat card. It's kind of like a Ricky effect, but instead of adding the card to your hand, it lets you summon a card to your board with that is a cost 0, whose level is equal or lower than your level. So, although it's not a Search Ricky, it does allow you deck access to get some of your more important cards. Next we have level 1 Deanne. This is a card that you can use to address your opponent's level 2s. Specifically level 2s, she only gains 6,000 power against exactly level 2 characters, but a good card for addressing standby if you feel like that's a problem. Alright, cool. We have... Oh, I'm putting these in the wrong pile. We have another double R. We have Meliodas, level 3. This is a really neat level 3 card. He's a fat healer, and he synergizes with the level 2 Elizabeth that we saw earlier. That can make your level 3 boards really, really big and really annoying to deal with, as the combination between these two gives Meliodas a bunch of power and a bunch of helpful abilities that inhibit what your opponent is able to do to you. So really nice pull here. Oh, and we have our second foil. So this is the Elaine level 0. So let's go ahead and get a sleeve on that. So this is the foil version of the level 0 that we told you about earlier, the one that I said was a really good double hand filter, and that alt art is very lovely. You get a lot of nice foiling on that. So this is a super nice pull. And we've got 2 double Rs left to go. I definitely think a lot of the foil arts in this set are really nice, the alt arts. Interestingly, there are a lot of cards that you would think would get foils in this set that didn't end up getting foils. So, pretty interesting choices on the design team. And for our 4th double R, we did hit a super strong double R, level 0 Gil Thunder. This is one of the most important pieces for this set's level 0 dominance. And this is definitely a card where if you ever pull this in your boxes or in your packs, just immediately throw this in your deck. Just put it in your deck. Because 3/5 Chaser, extremely strong profile, and you'll be able to use this in whatever deck you want. It doesn't need any context. It's just a super strong card, and I definitely think this is going to be one of the value double Rs to pull in this set. For next rare, we have a Meliodas level 3. He has the ability to deal damage back to the opponent if you take damage. And in this last pack, we should have our last double R. So let's see what we get here. I think the best thing to get here would probably be another copy of the Merlin Brainstorm, but let's slow roll this. So we got our 2 uncommons, and we pulled another copy of the level 3 King. So not too shabby. We got a pretty great box here. We got some really high-profile cards. So we got our Meliodas, 2 copies of King, 1 copy of the Elaine level 1 combo, and these 3 powerhouse level 0s that if you pull these, you're going to want to include these in your deck pretty much by default. So with the box opening out of the way, let's reorganize ourselves and get on to the set review portion of the video. Okay, well guys, welcome back, and on to the set review portion. I have a bunch of little sections here so we can organize our thoughts and look at each section one by one. So we're not obviously going to be going over every single card in the set, but I will be giving you guys an idea of which cards that I think you should be looking at, just in terms of packages like utility packages, level 1 packages, end games, specific text, things like that. Just some big picture stuff, so you guys can get sort of an idea of what you're looking at with this set. So we're going to go ahead and start with our level 0 double R package. So we have these 4 cards. We have the level 0 Gil Thunder, the level 0 Meliodas, the Bond, and the Merlin Brainstorm. So these 4 are going to basically make up the cornerstone of every 7 Deadly Sins meta level 0 line. You have a lot of really great field control sort of stuff, with the Gil Thunder being a 3/5 chaser and the Meliodas being a clean cut. Between these 2 cards, you can be really annoying against your opponent's level 0 lines, and if they're not prepared to deal with this combination of cards, then you have potential to just blow them out of the level 0 line. It's super annoying. And so in addition, we have these 2 utility zeros. We have the Bond, which is a top check, topper waiting room, and also has an Honorverse Rize effect, allowing you to get some free mill as well as filter cards out of your hand. And we have the Merlin. So the Merlin is the only generic plussing Brainstorm in the set, and being in the double rare slot means that this is definitely going to be a card that you're going to want to be looking out for. I would say that all 4 of these cards, if you pull any of these, are instant additions to your deck, as they are all extremely strong, and you'll take as many copies as you can get. On to the lower rarity stuff. So we do have plenty of utility options to look at. In terms of Ricky-like effects, we do have the option of the Hawk level 0, as well as the Hendrickson level 0. So the Hawk is a salvage Ricky effect, allowing you to pay 1, put the top card of your deck into clock, and salvage a level 1 or lower, while the Hendrickson allows you to pay 1, put the top card of your deck into clock to search your deck for a cost 0 or lower Britannia character whose level is equal or lower than your level and put it on stage. So unfortunately, Hendrickson will not allow you to grab level 1 cards if you are not at level 1, but if you use his effect and the cost puts you at level 1, you will be able to get higher level cards out of your deck. So these 2 cards, good for damage boosting, getting additional cards, using your health as a resource essentially, take extra damage, grab extra cards, very good profiles to look at. We have a lot of utility options to look at here with these 7 cards. So the first one I want to talk about is the Elizabeth, let's reorganize this real quick. The first one I want to talk about is the Elizabeth Drop Search. She's just a very simple drop search. If you played Bang Dream, you would recognize her second effect. When she's in front row center slot, you can get 1 extra soul. That's just a little bit of a bonus. You're mainly running the card for the drop search. And of course, we also have the Gauther Drop Salvage. He has a pretty standard drop salvage effect, giving you access to your waiting room. But in addition, he also has a little bit of on-play mill to allow you to speed through your deck for free if you need to. Some of the other nice utility cards, we have the King, which is a Climax Swapper. On play, you can pay 1, discard a Climax, and grab a Climax out of your waiting room, which means that if you have the wrong Climax, you can grab the right one you need for the situation. Additionally, he allows you to check the top 2 cards of your deck and rearrange them in any order you like, giving you good knowledge for your upcoming triggers or things like that, allowing you to confirm things like the Gil Thunder level 0, getting the marker, etc. This level 0 King is a Ditch Climax Salvage. On play, you can discard a Climax, salvage a character. In addition, he has an additional on-play mill 2 effect. Just like the Gauther, you can get some nice free milling in. The Elizabeth is a card that I actually think is super important for a couple reasons. First of all, she synergizes very well with the level 0 Gil Thunder and Meliodas, allowing you to, especially in the mirror, win trades against opposing Gil Thunders, because this card, if this set becomes a very popular set, you're going to have to be dealing with these a lot, and Elizabeth is going to be the card that allows you to win those matchups with her on-play 1000 power buff. And additionally, she gives the deck some much-needed mill, some stock out. It's just a very flexible card. In addition, it also synergizes very well with the Deanne early play, which we can talk about in a bit. This Meliodas allows you to, on play, pay 1, discard a character, look it up to top 4. This can be useful for, again, getting some mill, while also allowing you to add any kind of card to your hand, including climaxes. So unfortunately, he cannot be used to discard climaxes, but that's the price to pay for being able to look at a fourth card, I guess. And lastly, we have the Elaine that we talked about earlier that we also pulled this lovely foil of. That is a double filter card. So if you're looking for a lot of hand filter at once, definitely look into this card. It's definitely a super strong profile. The last level 0 I wanted to talk about in this section is actually a card that you should consider looking at if you are looking into playing budget 7 Deadly Sins. And that is these two level 0s, the Zeal and Gwila. So the Gwila is the main part of this interaction. She's a 3/5 if you have 5 or more hand. And she is also a 1k field counter. So you can sacrifice her off the field to give your character being attacked an additional 1k. If you played FGO, this is a profile that you might be familiar with off the Mashu PR. And I think it's a very, very strong profile. And if you're looking to play budget 7 Deadly Sins, definitely look into this card as it is a really big body and also has the support of this Zeal, which when he's placed on stage from hand, you can pay 1 stock, grab this out of your deck, and put it straight onto the board. So it acts as a pay 1/+1, and the card that he brings out is just a really strong card that you can look into playing if you aren't able to access these more expensive double R profiles. Next, moving on to the level 1, we have 3 main options to look at if you're just playing a general build, which are the double R Elizabeth, the double R Elaine, and the 2/1 Gil Thunder. So both of these cards will give you free mill, as the Elizabeth gives you a mill 2 on attack with her combo, and then you get to salvage. So this gives you some waiting room access. While the Elaine lets you check up to 4 cards from the top of your deck and choose up to one of them and add it to your hand. So in this case, the trade-off between the two is that Elizabeth has the waiting room access, but Elaine has flexible mill since you can choose up to 4 cards to go through off the top of your deck. So when you're considering climax combos, definitely take those factors into account. And also, one more factor that you're going to want to take into account for the Elaine is that she does actually have a double combo with this level 3 bond. So you can get double value out of your gate combo, out of your gate climax rather. And also the bond, his finisher ability with the gate allows you to on reverse burn 3, as well as put the character that you reverse on top of the opponent's deck. So if you are running Elaine combo in your deck, this does give you a secondary finishing option over whatever your normal finisher is. And I think that's a really strong option to have. And that's part of the reason why I think that Elaine is, in my opinion, the strongest combo, but Elizabeth, definitely a card that you can use to great effect, and a card that you can look into using for your decks as well. And the last one we have here is the level 2 Gil Thunder. So this climax combo is very interesting in that it is an early play. You can play it at level 1 if you have 4 characters on the board. And his climax combo can only be used really once per turn because you have to sack the climax as the cost. However, on reverse, by sacking the climax, you get to look at up to 4 cards from top of your deck. And then any Britannia characters you get in those top 4, you get to add all of them to your hand. So even though you're only able to resolve 1 in a single turn, you get a ton of value out of just that 1 reverse. And he also has this level 0 Margaret that supports him. So she is a ditch bonder, allowing you to get the Gil Thunder out of your waiting room, but also gives the Gil Thunder 1,000 extra power, and your opponent cannot use backups or events against his attack, which means that if you're able to secure that reverse on something weaker than him, you're going to get it for sure, and you're going to get a whole bunch of cards into your hand. So definitely a card to look out for. This one's also a rare, whereas these two, the Elizabeth and the Elaine, are double Rs. So if you're looking for a budget option for your level 1 game, definitely consider looking into this Gil Thunder. It is a super strong profile, and you can definitely pick up a whole bunch of cards utilizing this combo. As far as other level 1s go, I did pick out some examples of level 1s that you can use as secondary to the combo. And I picked out 1 for each color and a couple for green because I do think that both of these cards are notable. So first, let's talk about yellow since we did have the Elizabeth earlier. We have this level 1 Meliodas. During your turn, he gains 2k if you have 2 or more other Britannia, which shouldn't be too hard. And when he's placed on stage, you can give one of your other Britannia characters 2,000. So he gets buff on attack, and he also gives one of your other characters a buff as well, allowing you to be super strong on the offense. Next, for red, you can consider running this level 1 Bond. He is a 5/5. If you don't have another Britannia character on stage, he doesn't stand. That shouldn't be much of a problem. You just have like some back row character, and you're good to go. On attack, he steals 1k power from the character across from him. So this effectively makes him a 7,500 attack beater, but by taking 1k power from the character across from him, if your opponent has a small character that's like 1k power, you can just snipe it off the board entirely, which can be really important if that character had like some sort of on reverse effect or like on death or effect that requires it to like go to memory or something like that. This can be used to counter that. Next we have this blue Jericho. So this card allows you to ditch extra climaxes in order to gain extra power and potentially draw on reverse. So it's a very good way to filter extra climaxes out of your hand, although it is blue, which is one of the lesser popular colors out of this set. And she also gains 3k power on attack, so very strong attacker. And then finally for green, we have the level 1 Bartra and the level 1 Diane. So the level 1 Diane we covered earlier. She gains extra power against level 2s, so if you're looking into playing against standby and strengthening your matchup against that, consider running the Diane in your deck. And lastly, we have the 1-0 Bartra. So he has a downside of all of your other characters cannot side attack, but when he attacks, you can discard a card from hand to bounce one of your other characters. This allows you to reuse some very powerful on-play effects, such as your utility line, or even your level 3 early play heal to stock, or you can just recycle copies of your level 1 combo to preserve them for the next turn. Very interesting ability, and one that you should definitely look out to play in your deck. So next, moving on to the level 3 line, we do have 4 double Rs in our level 3s in the set. So the first one we're going to talk about is our Diane early play, since this is the option that you're going to be playing earliest in the game. So this is your only early play heal in the set. You do have an early play top X that you can run as well in the lower rarity slots that you might want to run alongside this Diane. But this Diane is a 4 more early play heal, on play heal to stock by discarding a card, and during your turn, if all of your characters are Britannia trait, she gets plus 2,000 power. This is a profile that you might be very familiar with from Konosuba, as it's the same set of abilities as the Aqua early play, and it's just as good here as it is there. One thing that you're going to want to note about this Diane if you're playing it is that because it is a heal to stock and requires you to discard a card, in my opinion, you're going to want to prioritize hand more than stock as you play through your early to mid game. That way you have a lot of hand to use for the Diane, and a lot of the late game stuff that you can do in the set is fairly cheap stock wise, so that's why I think you can prioritize hand a lot. Moving on to the finishers. So the last 3 double Rs in the set are all finisher cards. So all cards for like climax combo based endgames. So first we have the Meliodas. He is effectively an 11k healer. His power condition is if all of your characters are Britannia, which is basically going to be always because everything is Britannia. And he has a powerful climax combo with a choice where when he attacks, he gains an additional 1k power and an ability until the end of the opponent's next turn, where when they attack him, you can pay 1 to burn 2. And so what's really neat about this card is that it activates on any type of attack. So if your opponent cannot try to avoid this by siding, it's still going to activate the effect anyway. And this makes Meliodas super cool against restanders, because every time your opponent attacks, you can activate the ability again and get additional burns. Unfortunately, as a kind of a downside, because it's during your opponent's turn, this means that they can heal down in order to make the situation less lethal against them, but it's still a very strong profile overall. And the thing that makes it really, really obnoxious to play against is this 2-1 Elizabeth. She gives an extra 1k power, hexproof, and anti-burn in the Meliodas lanes, which means that if you're playing against burn-based endgames, your opponent is going to just get shut down completely. So against burn-based endgames, your opponent won't be able to do much against the Meliodas, but if they have restand-based endgames, you get to burn them multiple times, which is really, really cool. And the Elizabeth, in addition, while she's in the back row, all level 3 or higher characters in front of her gain an extra 2k power. So definitely a super strong package, super, super annoying, and definitely one to look into. Another really cool endgame for 7 Deadly is this level 3 King. He's non-play heal, and he has a climax combo with a gold bar climax, where when he attacks, you can pay 1, discard 1 to mill 6, and deal 1 damage to your opponent X times. So that means that every climax you mill is a separate instance of 1 damage. So you can do a lot of small pokes if you're able to compress really well and mill a lot of climaxes. In addition, he also gains 2k power. So this is a really strong offensive-based late game, whereas the Meliodas is more of a defensive late game. So feel free to pick between these two depending on your playstyle. And the last level 3 I want to look at is actually a pretty big package here. We have the 3-2 Hendrickson, which is the finisher for blue. And the reason I have him here is with all these other Holy Knights is because they have a pretty neat package where you run these exact climax combos in your deck. First, let's quickly talk about Hendrickson's card. He gains 1k for each character in the opponent's back row. On play, you can look it up to 3 and add it to hand. So if you're missing, if you want to dig for more copies of himself, or if you're missing the climax, feel free to top check through the 3 cards and grab the cards you need. His combo finisher, on attack, you can pay 1, discard 2. You get to look at the top card of your opponent's deck, put it on top of their deck or into their waiting room, effectively potentially allowing you to snipe a climax off the top, and then burn for 4. So pretty big number. 4 is not the most favorable number these days, but still definitely a card that you can get a lot of high damage potential against your opponent. And as for the other cards we have here, we have these 2 level 1s. They are a double climax combo with a book, and they each have their own combo. This one allows you to look at the top 2, and then your opponent picks one of those cards to add to your hand. And then this one allows you to salvage a character if your opponent levels up while you have the climax in play. And so the reason that we have both of these cards in this package is because these 2 cards are a brainstorm that allows you to brainstorm 5, but it only hits these specific climaxes. And this 1/1, which is a level assist, but when he's placed, you can freely climax swap between the 2 climaxes to get the one you want. So 5-card package. This is definitely one to look out for if you're interested in playing Holy Knight package. Now, for the last few cards that we want to look at for this review, I just want to highlight the counter options that you do have in this deck, as some of the more popular climax options are going to be the Gate level 1, or the double combo rather, as well as the 2 choice climaxes with the Elizabeth level 1 and the Meliodas level 3. So you will want to think about counters that do have triggers so that you can grab them off of your choice climaxes. As far as the counter that does not have a trigger, we do have the 1/0 King. This is just a standard 2k counter. In my opinion, in 7 Deadly Sins, it's not too reasonable to try to defend your level 1 boards unless you're running like a Gil Thunder, because Gil Thunder gets quite beefy. So in my opinion, for the level 1 lines for the Elizabeth and the Elaine, you might want to forego trying to go for counters to defend your level 1s, unless you're against very specific matchups where you think that level 1 counters are going to be super important. As far as the other counter options, we do have a 1/1 Merlin, which is a Lifa counter, and it is also a 2k punch. So this is a good utility card if you want the filter from the Lifa. Definitely a card to consider if you do want to defend your level 1 boards. I think this is definitely a card that you can look into, as it is also a choice climax for the choice target for the level 1 Elizabeth. But you should also consider running this in decks that run the Gold Bar King combo, as you can use the Leaf effect to get extra Gold Bar climaxes out of your hand and into your waiting room. And then lastly, we have a couple 2/1 counters. We have the 2/1 Slater, which is an anti-change counter. Definitely an option to consider if you're worried about your opponent having either on reverse abilities, as it is a sat counter, or if you're just worried about your opponent's early plays. And then finally, we have what is, in my opinion, the most important counter in the set, which is the 2/1 Elizabeth. She is a free fresh counter by paying 2 extra, and so whenever you're looking at a set that has access to choice climaxes or gate climaxes as some of their more popular options, if that's what you're going to want to be looking into, you're definitely going to want to have free fresh counters at the ready, so that when if you trigger a bunch of climaxes, you can grab this back and then use the free fresh ability to get out of bad deck states. And then finally, the last set of cards that I wanted to feature for the set review are some tech options that are good in specific situations that you might want to include in your deck to be ready for those situations. So first we have the level 0 King. He gives global 500 power to all your other Britannia characters. In addition, you can rest him for his act ability, choose one of your characters, and it gains an ability where if they are able to reverse the battle opponent, you can force your opponent to heal 1 and then shoot the opponent's reverse character to clock. This can be really good for getting rid of sticky characters that have like encore effects or something that has an on death ability, because when you send them to clock, they're not going to be hitting the waiting room. So definitely a card to look out for if you are worried about those matchups. The next couple are 2 anti-change bombs. We have the 1/1 Elizabeth, which is a stock bomb, as well as a pay 1 field swap. And we have the 2/1 Gwilla, which is a bottom deck bomb, and also has on play pay 2 and search your deck for a climax and add it to hand. So between the two, I'm more in favor of the Elizabeth, as she is a level 1. This will allow her to potentially address 2/2 standby targets that your opponent brought out at level 1. But if you were still at level 1 yourself, you would not be able to play the 2/1 to address them. So the Elizabeth, very nice card to address those standby targets while you are still at level 1. But you do have the option between both. The next couple cards are very important profiles for combating good compression and like having opponents having a lot of stock and a lot of clean stock. And those are the Diane stock swap and the 2/1 Hawk. So the Diane has a stock swap ability. When she's placed on stage, you can pay 1 to make your opponent drop all of their stock into waiting room and replace them with an equal number of cards from the top of their deck. If your opponent has a lot of clean stock and a lot of climaxes in a small deck, you can use this to completely turn the tide of the game in your favor and just completely screw over your opponent's compression. Another card that's important for screwing over your opponent's compression is the 2/1 Hawk, which has what I call a Fumio ability, or in this case, I would call it a half Fumio ability. When this is placed on stage from hand, you can pay 2 and rest one of your standing Britannia characters. If you do, your opponent chooses 1 climax from their waiting room and shuffles back all the other cards from their waiting room. So if your opponent has very few climaxes in waiting room, a lot of garbage, a lot of clean cards, especially if your opponent just triggered a bunch of climaxes as well, this effect can be especially deadly, forcing them to shuffle back a bunch of garbage into their deck so you can more easily stick attacks. And the reason I call this a half Fumio as opposed to a Fumio is because this only leaves 1 climax in your opponent's waiting room, whereas a full Fumio, or I guess, would leave 2 climaxes. These definitely are a pair of cards that I think are worth running 1 copy apiece if you can accommodate the colors in your deck, as they are really good tech options to get you out of situations where you just cannot deal any damage to your opponent just because their compression is so strong. And then lastly, we have these 2 options. We have a level 3 Gil Thunder and the level 3 event Goddess Amber. These are both removal cards that you can use at level 3 to get rid of opponents' really pesky characters. The Gil Thunder has an on-play bounce where you can on-play, look at up to 3 cards from the top of your deck, rearrange them in any order you want. This allows you to confirm incoming triggers to get precision amounts of damage. And you also get to choose up to one of your opponent's characters and return it to their hand. In addition, if the manipulation of the triggers wasn't enough from the top check 3 rearrange, he also has an effect where when he attacks, you can discard a character to give him an additional 2k and 1 soul until end of turn. So you can really get those precision end games if you want to. And then lastly, we have the Goddess Amber. This requires a Britannia character on the board to play, which shouldn't be hard at all, as the entire deck is Britannia characters. And allows you to choose one of your opponent's level 3 or lower characters and put it straight to memory. So it just lets you get any problematic character off the board if your opponent has like a really fat support that is like keeping you from keeping your Meliodases on the board on the attack because they're threatening counters, or if your opponent has some character that you want to remove so that you can attack safely without having to worry about like money counters or rest counters or things like that. Or if your opponent just has like some finisher that you know that they're going to want to encore if they live this turn, and you just get that thing off the field. There's a lot of uses for this Goddess Amber event, and it's definitely a card to consider running to get rid of pesky cards. So that concludes our set review portion of this video. Hope you all enjoyed. If you guys have any cards that I did not feature in this that you want to discuss, feel free to go down into the comments and just start talking about it. We love to hear your guys' ideas, and you guys can feel free to discuss amongst yourselves in the comments as well. Just come up with ideas, come up with strategies, and yeah. Definitely be sure to leave a like on the video if you enjoyed the video. Feel free to subscribe to the channel as well. We're going to have a lot of incoming 7 Deadly Sins content for you guys, including deck profiles and gameplay, so be on the lookout for those as well. I'm going to be featuring a lot of the cards that you guys have seen here, and you guys can see these cards in action. And feel free to, on those as well, formulate your own gameplays and bounce ideas in the comments of those videos as well when they come up. So thanks for watching, everybody. Until next time, this has been Shizukatz with Trusted Collectibles, and I'm out. Later.